Hi everyone, good afternoon. I haven't done a live for a while, so I thought I would come on and say hi. So I wanted to talk about reflection and reflective practice as helping professionals. And I've been thinking about this a lot, but for those of you who don't know, I absolutely love Reformer Pilates and I do classes several times a week. And something that I noticed, and it's not just in Pilates, I know that they do it in different kinds of movement and exercise programs, but in Pilates, they always open with a stretch and a warm up, and it tends to be really slow stretching, quite relaxing, and then they move into then the challenging workout series or the challenging moves. And then at the end of the class, prior to finishing the workout, then they have a stretch at the end where they again slow down the pace, and then you're able to stretch out any of your muscles that maybe need a bit of love at the end of a strenuous workout. And what I actually noticed is, because normally when I do Pilates, and if you do any group exercise classes yourself, you tend to be only focused on yourself and what are you getting out of the program, and is it challenging for you? Is it easy? Have you done the program before? And that sort of thing. You might be thinking about, I don't really like this movement because I have back pain, etc. But what I started noticing, I started to pay attention to those around me doing the Pilates class. And so many people, and on some days, it can differ every day, but on some days, at least half of the people who did the Pilates class actually leave prior to doing the stretch, so prior to their cool down. So they essentially go from a really high intensity workout to then just getting off their machines, giving it a wipe down, and then they just leave. And for me, the stretch at the start and the stretch at the end of the class, they're personally my favorite part, because I think that it's a good opportunity to actually slow down the pace. And similar to our daily roles as helping professionals, that we spend so much time trying to support our clients, participants, or service users with whatever their challenge may be. And sorry, there's a fly just buzzing around my home office. I don't know how I don't know why and how they keep coming in, but if you see a little black fly buzzing past, it's hi Jess, how are you going? Anyway, this fly keeps pestering me. But what I sort of noticed is about myself is that I really enjoy the stretch at the end of the class. It actually gives me a chance to reflect on the class or the benefits I got from it. And because my whole day, whether it's my work day or my weekend days, they're always so busy. So actually spending that time to stretch after exercise and give me a chance to reflect and so gather my thoughts again before then leaving the Pilates class, that for me is essential. And so I wanted to compare that to reflective practice. So often in the work that we do, we're going between client appointments, we could be just so busy and we're just going back to back from one thing to the next. And I know myself when I was, welcome, 2 of you now. Hi everyone. Feel free to introduce yourselves and let me know where you're joining from. That would be lovely. Thank you for joining, and welcome to anyone who's watching the replay. I'll make sure to share the replay. I don't do lives very often, so I have to remind myself of how to actually do how to put the replay on. I'll work it out and it will be on there, but welcome to everyone. And for myself, when I was a government social worker, and I was a government social worker in different roles, including leadership, for almost a decade. And so I know what it's like to go from one meeting to the next, from client appointments to the next without actually spending time to stop, reset, reflect, have a break. And when I started to actually embed reflection and reflective practice into everything that I was doing in my work, but also in my life, I actually found that for me, it broke up the stressful day, and then I had something to look forward to. Similar for me at the end of the Pilates class, I really look forward to at the end of the class, I've done really well, I've worked hard, then to have a stretch at the end. And it's similar, and if you're someone who's maybe working in mental health or education, or if you're just someone who in your profession, you're seeing clients, back to back, or you're in meetings back to back, actually acknowledging that you need that reflection time is really, really important, which is why I've included a similar structure in any supervision that I run, whether it's an individual session or a group. I always have reflection at the start and at the end. And I use an amazing resource, which of course I'll always give credit where credit's due, but what I use for the structure of my supervision sessions is called the supervision menu. And it's a really great, pretty accessible in terms of price resource by Be With. So Jess Marsh, she's an accredited mental health social worker. So she's created the supervision menu, which I absolutely love. And it's very similar, I think, to then the structure of the Pilates class and other group fitness classes, where you start with your warm up, your stretch, you're getting prepared, you're getting ready, and then then there's the challenge, there's the exercise, and then at the end it's about, well, how do you then resettle yourself, reset, and how are you then ending on a really positive note. And similar to in supervision, sometimes in supervision, quite often we might bring really challenging situations. So it could be a really challenging client situation. It could be some difficulty that you're having with colleagues or even your line manager, and then you want to bring that into the supervision space. And sometimes we could have the tendency to, and I know I've done this myself, where you could go into supervision with a huge long list of, I need to speak about this, that I'd like support, I'd like advice, I'd like resources in these certain areas. And sometimes we could run the risk of, unless we have a bit of a structured reflection at the start, is we could just go in and just blurt out everything that is challenging us without actually spending time to really orientate ourselves to that supervision space. So that's what I absolutely love to do for helping professionals, because I know how much value I myself have got out of the supervision space. I just have a sip of water. Talking is thirsty business. So that was the first thing that I wanted to share. And just by way of an update, if you haven't already ever done a group supervision program with me, they run in 3-month cycles. So it means that you'll have a consistent group for the 3 months. Once that group starts, then there'll be no changes to that group. Of course, life circumstances could happen, and sometimes, a professional who's in our group maybe can't attend a session because of other commitments, but no one new is added to the group in that 3-month period. So you can actually develop a nice, meaningful professional connection and build up a really good working relationship with other helping professionals that you wouldn't ordinarily have met. Given that it's online, I have helping professionals from there's that fly coming back. I have helping professionals from all throughout Australia coming together, and, their brilliant minds all coming together, and myself facilitating that space. So it's just a space that I absolutely love. And last night we had the very first group supervision session for practitioners. So these are amazing helping professionals working directly with clients, in really high stress roles. And I also have the business owners group for helping professionals, and that one actually starts tonight. So we do still have a few spaces for the business owners group supervision, and they're all helping professionals who either have a business or have aspirations to start their own business and sort of go solo. And that one starts at 7 p.m. Brisbane time, and that goes for 1 hour and a half. So it goes until 8:30. So you can actually secure your spot, and we'd love you to join us. You can either click on the link in my bio, or you just go onto my website, which is www.jasmin, Purcell, PURSELL.com.au/store. But if you go to the homepage of my website, then it will be linked up to the top that you can just click on group supervision and get yourself into our group tonight. We would absolutely love for you to join us, and it'd be a shame for you to miss out, because then you'll have to wait until the 3-month cycle ends before you can join the next lot of groups. So that's just a bit of an update for anyone who's listening. That's 7 p.m. Brisbane time tonight. The date is, I always have to look. I never know the date. Thursday, the 26th of March. That's one update. And the other update is that I have a survey at the moment for anyone who's working in the helping profession. So you could be a social worker like me, you could be a counsellor, psychologist, OT, speechy, exercise physiologist, you could be a youth worker. There's so many different roles, and I can't list all of the amazing impactful job titles that you all have. But if you yourself identify as being a professional who helps others, so in either a direct client facing role, maybe you're in leadership, but if you identify as being in the helping professionals, health or allied health, then I would love your perspective in the survey. So the survey is very brief. It doesn't take too long, depending on how in-depth your responses are. Most of it is sort of like tick a box situation, so multiple choice. There's only a few opportunities for you to, put a little bit more detail in your responses. But essentially, the purpose of the survey is something that I'm really passionate about. And if you're new to seeing any of my content, I'm really passionate about supporting the professional behind the job title. So let's say, for example, if you're a social worker and you're working in a therapeutic role with NDIS participants, so you're doing direct therapy, and that's your role. It's very, very high client demands, and in the work that we do, there's also an emotional load that we carry. And there's something called, and if you haven't heard of it, then keep watching my content and reading it, and I do talk about this quite often, but there's several examples, but in the work that we do, we can sometimes experience psychosocial or psychological hazards in the work that we do. So psychosocial or psychological hazards can include the excessive workload that we have. It may also include, and you may resonate with some of these examples, but they may not apply to you. And if they don't apply to you, then that's fantastic. And we'd still love your feedback on the survey. Another example is lack of support from, maybe your manager, maybe your organization. So lack of support, unclear scope of role, or role clarity. So that's where you are not really sure on your role, or maybe you're not sure of some of the responsibilities, or how much or what's the level of your responsibilities. You might work in a more newly created role, so you might be a bit unclear what even the purpose of your role is and what you should be doing. There's many other psychosocial or psychological hazards that we experience. We're also, in the kind of work that we do, we're regularly exposed to the adverse experiences or traumatic experiences of our clients. So then these also can take a toll on us and our own well-being and our feelings of psychological safety at work, and sometimes we bring an emotional load home after work. So the reason why I'm so passionate about talking about these psychosocial hazards is because firstly, I've experienced so many of them in my various roles, and I speak to helping professionals all the time and they have similar experiences. So this survey is trying to capture all of your experiences around what does good support look like in your profession. So, is it regular supervision? Is it group reflective practice? Is it regular training? Is it team wellbeing days? So what does a safe workplace, in particular a psychologically safe workplace, look like for you? So that's the other part of the survey. So it's looking at, okay, well, are there any psychosocial hazards that you yourself experience in your role? And then the other side is, are there, support that you're already being provided by your organization, or support that you would like to be provided, to be provided to you? And then the results of this survey, and you can also, in the survey, you can indicate if you would like to receive a summary of the results, because I think it's great to respond to a survey, tick, 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 tick a box. But there's another thing to actually see, well, what are some of the results? Like, what are other helping professionals saying? So you can also indicate, and you can get it. We can send you a copy of a bit of a brief summary of the results at the end. So I'm super excited about that survey as a little bit of incentive for you, because I know you're all so time poor that one lucky individual, one lucky helping professional will win $100 cash in the form of a bank transfer. So, just a bit of a way for me to say thank you for privileging your time in responding to our survey, that one person would win $100. I wish I could give everyone $100, but with the cost of living, budgets don't allow that. But one helping professional will receive $100. And I know $100 doesn't really get you not even much fuel these days, but it can be towards a nice dinner for yourself and your loved one, maybe some groceries, maybe half a tank of petrol these days. But I just wanted to also say thank you to the amazing helping professionals who have already responded to the survey. And the survey closes on the 1st of April. So we have a few days left. So I just wanted to, call out to any helping professionals in Australia who haven't already responded to our psychosocial hazards sector survey. I invite you warmly, eagerly to please consider spending a few minutes of your time to get on board. And it would be really great to hear from as many of you as possible. I did check before coming on here, and so far we have just over 75 responses, which I think is an amazing number. And thank you to all of those people who have, spent their time, and time is, one of our most precious resources. So thank you to everyone. I would love even more of your responses. So thank you so much. And also a huge thank you to anyone who's signed up for my latest group supervision, either the practitioners group, which started last night, amazing group of professionals in there, and the business owners group, which starts tonight at 7:00 Brisbane time. So all these links are in my bio, so you can access the link to the sector survey looking at psychosocial hazards in our industry of helping professionals, and also looking at psychological safety as well. And also how you can get yourself a last minute spot in my 3-month group supervision program for business owners or aspiring business owners. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to send me a DM or comment. But thank you all so much for joining me for this live, an impromptu live. I didn't plan on doing it, but I thought, I've got a little bit of time up my sleeve before school pickup, so why not come and say hi to anyone who wants to listen. Thanks so much, everyone, and take care. I hope to see you next time. Bye.